What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Verdependent podcast, where we depend on the Verde and Black for our everyday vibes. This week, we scratch our heads at Austin still second in the West, look at the club's penalty kick history, and preview Austin's first Copa Tejas action of 2025 on the road at Houston before closing out the episode with a stoppage time rundown of the hottest Austin FC, MLS, and World Footy storylines of the past week. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to our podcast and leaving us a review and possibly even sharing these episodes with a friend. I'm Paul Fletes.
And I'm Logan Bartlett.
And Lobar, I think we had a pretty good showing last week on our preheated takes, brother. I think you said last week that the team would come back and show a little grit, which they did.
That they did.
And I was avoiding the subject altogether and looking forward to Open Cup. But this week, what have you got for us?
Yeah, man, I'm looking long-term with this one. And my preheated take is that Austin FC will win Copa Tejas for the third time. I believe it's their third time in history. It would be their third win.
Sounds right. Yeah. I believe this would be three.
Dallas is taking two. Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. I'm saying we win it this year. We take it back. We're in good form. We own Houston. Nico knows what's up in Dallas, I guess. So,
right. Yeah.
We're taking it. We're taking it. What about you?
I like that, man. For me, I'm looking a little bit more in terms of our record. And I have Austin FC tallying 1-0 wins, by the All-Star break. I say break, but you know what I mean, the All-Star game that's happening in Q2 in July. Right now we're at 4 1-0 victories. So just 2 by, mid-July, and I think we beat that. But
yeah, I like it. I mean, we'll be at 5 this week after this weekend, so that's what's up.
Oh, the early prediction already, okay?
No, I'm just speaking it. I had the chance to speak it into existence now.
There you go. We are manifesting, brother. We're manifesting.
Exactly.
Well, anyway, before we get into the rest of the recap, we were fortunate enough to stay after and do a quick recording of just our thoughts right after the match. So sit tight and let's hear those right now.
So it was a herring 1-0 to the good against LA Galaxy, bottom of the West. Not the most convincing performance here at Q2 today, but with me, the boy himself, Lobar. What are the vibes, brother?
Making my debut, bro, on the post-game vibe conference, whatever we want to call it. Gritty game, man. Gritty game, 1-0 win, missed penalty. Vasquez gets it back off the assist from the sub. Kolmanich, our man, Verdependent regular.
That's
one
right.
time, but whatever. It feels good. Vasquez figured out the pens. We need you to make those, brother. But you got your goal. Fight after the game. What? A Heinz-like red card? It's a gritty matchups from now on with us and Galaxy, bro. I don't know if it's the Diego effect or what.
It's something, man. Yeah.
It's a win, so I'll take it.
It is 3 points to kick it off. And I think with this result now, we are back in 4th place, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I heard somebody in the concourse say second. I want to take their word because that sounds better. So.
Well, sounds good then. Anyways, Austin is up right now.
And we keep the Galaxy down, so.
Exactly. All right. On to the next one, May 3rd, 7:30 p.m. against Minnesota United. Till then, keep the vibes right.
Oh, yeah. Stay frosty.
There you go. Well, let's open up with our review of the Verde and Black's win against the Galaxy. And I wanted to start actually with a quote from head coach Nico Estevez during the post-match press conference. And this is how it goes. Just think about for a second, as a human being, where we were after the game against Vancouver and how we bounced back this week. And I think that it says a lot about this group and the mentality. So before we get into the rest of that match recap, Lobar, I just want to ask you your thoughts about his comment and whether you agree or disagree, brother.
I like it. I mean, that's speaking to the grit point that I mentioned last week, right? And it's like, I think the hindsight quote after last week and Nico taking the blame on that loss against Vancouver. This was very much like a challenge for the club as humans, as people, as professionals, individually and as a group, to really show their worth and their grit and their ability to bounce back. And I think that just continues that same trend. And I think that's a very astute observation of we play soccer, but we're professionals, we're humans, we take pride in our work. And that was a horrible showing for the club and a stain on a good record, a good season so far. And it was a good opportunity for them as humans, as you said, as human beings and as a group to show that mentality. So I think it's spot on. And it's very, it's very like a coach pop in San Antonio than the Spurs. It's very much like that kind of perception of like, this isn't just a game, right? Like we're humans. We go to work, we go home, we have lives. This is, our reputation is tied to our success in this sport. And we see that, and, it shows our worth and our grit. So hell yeah, man. I like it.
No, I agree, man. I'm glad that he mentioned it that way, because I think that was something that we both touched on, and a lot of folks around town were talking about, what's the result going to be? Are they going to be able to bounce back? And the score doesn't always necessarily show that, the way that they handled LA Galaxy, but I feel like it was a pretty convincing performance nonetheless. But moving ahead, fans of this team and folks that listen to the podcast will probably agree that this game against LA mirrored the kind of performances that Austin had started to become known for in this league. Defensively strong, offensively lacking in the tooth. The match did, however, have a formation break from the norm, with Nico opting for a 4-3-3 against the reigning champs. FBF showed Austin with 3.2 XG to Galaxy's 0.9, with BV9 alone credited for 2.27 with his 8 shots on the day, which, one could say was probably him benefiting from that formation change a little bit. So, Lobar, how are you feeling about Austin's leading goal scorer only tallying 2 goals so far through 9 games?
I mean, without harping on it any more than we need to, it's like that is poor, right? In the grand scheme of things, you want your leading scorer to have a couple more goals over 9 games. You want your team to have more goals. You want your team to have more shots over that amount of time. We've talked about it ad nauseum on this podcast this season so far. Like, our offense has been lacking. You hinted at that already to set up this question. So, it leaves room for desire. Like we need more out of our top guy, but like, a goal is a goal, man. A win's a win at the end of the day, right? It's one thing if you're playing boring soccer and losing games, as we've talked about in the past too. It's another if you're playing boring soccer and winning games. And I wouldn't say this game was boring. I'd say it's just more of the same of, lacking that final finish. And the dude has it in his bag. He's shown it in MLS and Liga MX and elsewhere. Like, he can score goals and he can score them consistently. So we're just waiting for that consistency. But it was great to see that he had a lot more chances. The XG is there, right? Like, all great trends that he's moving toward. And he should have had 2 on the night, right? With that missed PK. So I feel bad, but good, but hopeful, do more, please. But also, you're going the right direction, brother. And we're winning games. So yeah.
No, I feel that, man. I think for me, it's mostly just a matter of like the consistency piece that you were talking about, right? That he is a proven goal scorer. But I also appreciate the fact that Nico decided to change things up a little bit. Granted, whether that's because he knew that the Galaxy were a little bit low in form right now, so he was willing to take that risk, formationally speaking, away from the 4-4-2. But hopefully this does open up, our attackers to generate more chances and ultimately be a numbers game where the higher the total chance creation is, the better likelihood that those are converted into shots and goals. But we haven't really hit on this yet, but Osman Bukhari seemed to respond positively coming off the bench against a gassed LA Galaxy side, coming on for Hader Obrian, who didn't really have all that much going on this match. But just minutes after coming on, Bukhari baits John Nelson to set up the PK that McCarthy would save. Shout out Best Ball. He is our keeper for that, so good for him. But Lobar, I wanted to ask your thoughts on this, man. I know I sound like I'm harping on BV9 here, but like, what are your thoughts on letting Brandon take this PK despite, the confidence issues and the forms that he's been on recently? Yeah,
right. The lack of scoring piece and lack of finishing. Well, I want to first shout out Bukhari as well too. I think you nailed it. He responded well to being benched. He showed us why he's the DP on the wing compared to Obrian, right? And said put in a good shift and got that PK, and that was dope. In terms of BV9 taking it, though, I'm not mad at it. I think that's who should be taking it, him or Uzuni, right? And like, if it's going to be either of them, I'm not mad at it. I think more what I'm frustrated at is McCarthy. I mean, first give him his flowers. McCarthy is a great penalty stopper, right? It's what he's known for in some circles. So I'm not mad at that, but what I am mad at is the ref not keeping control of that situation in that moment, right? There's that little scuffle at the 18-yard box where Austin FC and LA Galaxy players were distracting each other, and the ref had to like pause the PK and go, scold them and whatnot. And while that's happening, both McCarthy and one of the LA Galaxy players are up in BV9's business on the penalty spot, like talking shit to him, moving the ball and messing with his flow. And granted, that's what you do in that scenario. Like I would hope Austin does the same thing. But also, you don't want to be in that scenario in the first place. The ref needs to be able to hold the composure of the players in that moment and just let the PK happen. Yeah. And I think this was one of those games, but in the penalty moment and outside of it, where the ref or the players took advantage of that and that tension that exists between these two clubs and the escalating temperatures and the drama and played into the refs or played that into their hand with the ref and allowed a lot of moments to kind of be consumed in the referee having to like fix things and cause drama and whatnot. And this was just another moment of that where I think that frustrated me a lot of like, this shouldn't take 3 minutes for us to take this PK right now, you know, and you shouldn't let McCarthy and another guy like after we're already set up, get up in the penalty kicker's space and talk shit and fuck with the ball and jab at the dirt and like all this stuff, and he ends up missing it. So he may have missed it if it happened in 30 seconds and not 3, who knows, but it definitely didn't help. So come on, refs.
That's a fair point, man. And I think to that I would say welcome to the MLS. This is our league, and it might not be perfect, but this is the type of shit that happens all the time. And so frustrating as it might be, part and parcel of what we signed up for. But I guess I wanted to jump over into halftime now, because after that PK miss, you and I both were kind of looking at each other and we were like, we should probably talk about some PKs and the form that we've been having. Because, I mean, when it comes to PKs and Austin FC, I'm always transported back to like that first playoff game against RSL, right? We had 2 regular time PKs awarded, Sergio Cordova and then also Driussi late at the buzzer there to send it over into the shootout, right? Where Stuver becomes the hero, and we had, I think it was Seba, Diego, and Emmy, make their kicks to send us over into the second round. But since then, bro, it feels like things have looked a little bleak for the Verde and Black from the penalty spot, with Austin converting only 1 out of the last 4 spot kicks. Yeah. That one being Alex Ring's consolation goal from our other 5-1 drubbing against RSL last June. But before that, Seba's saved PK against Tim Milia last May. We were 10 for 10 on the spot, basically. So I want to ask you, Lobar, if you were Austin FC manager, and the next time we have a PK, who would you designate? I know you kind of mentioned this already, that you think BV9, but like,
no, I think, but in this context, it's a fair question to bring back up, because for so long we were praising Driussi, right, for his perfect record, right, and we had this as Chelsea fans too with Cole Palmer, and his perfect streak of penalties made. We've been to the point of your stats, we've been blessed with consistency and a lack of, or blessed with certainty, right? Like knowing, hey, Seba pulls up, he's going to make it. Then, he missed 2 in a row, and then we didn't get another PK for 6 months after Alex Ring's one make, right? And here, or not even 10 months at this point, because it's April, and the last one was in June. Like that's tough. So I think we're in our first scenario where we have uncertainty around PKs, and like we've missed more than we've made in the last year. We have all new players, and the only one we've taken this year we missed, right, with the BB9 one. All that to say is, I still think you give it to Brandon Vasquez if he wants it, right? Like, it was very clear in that moment that he was going to take that PK. Uzuni, he like told Uzuni, this is mine. Uzuni said, yep, it's yours, and walked off, right? There was no argument. I think regardless of this miss, you still give it to Vasquez, because clearly he's the guy that you've designated to take these if you off rip. I think he's earned it with his scoring record, and I think that's fine if he takes it. So I think from a coach's perspective, not penalizing Brandon Vasquez for this miss is the best choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can give it to Izuni. He'll probably make it, and that's great. But what would be more hurtful is taking it from Vasquez, showing that lack of faith. I get that he's a professional. I'm really just hypothesizing here. But I think from a coaching perspective, you give Vasquez another chance. And then if he misses again, he now knows I need to not be taking these right now. I need to figure that out. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But what would be more helpful is he makes that next penalty. He's on 3 or hopefully more at that point if it's going to be another 6 months between penalties. But I think you give it to Vasquez again because taking it away would do more harm than good, in my opinion, for one miss.
Yeah. No, I think that's an excellent point. I think I kind of come from the idea of missing that certainty that you were talking about, and that the stats kind of bear out earlier on in our history with PKs. But yeah, I look at someone with the confidence of Izuni, honestly, and I'm just like, he's got to be it, in these pressure situations. But I also understand, where you're coming from in terms of giving that second chance. We are do right FC, as we've said before in this podcast. So
the perspective I'm coming from mostly is like, if you were going to have Uzuni take the penalties, he takes that first one last weekend, right? And then that's it, right? Yeah. But clearly, Nico made the choice that if we get a PK, it's Brandon. He's the one that takes it. And because this is our first penalty of the year, and he happened to miss it, and what I think was a BS circumstance with all the hoopla around the penalty and the players goofing, that's out of the norm. Normally, it's going to be quick, you get it done, cool.
I mean, you say that, bro. Did you see that PK? I think it was Monterrey versus Tigres, where they had Nahuel goofing all over the place.
No, it's true.
Sergio Ramos was just like, brother, are you done? And then slots it past. It's like you got to be that kind of player where it's you're just going to fucking slot it. But
regardless, though, what I'm trying to say is yes, I'm with you. Uzuni will take a penalty, and I'm confident he'll make it. Yeah. But I think, given that you chose BV9 as your guy already, just because he missed one penalty doesn't mean you should take it away right now. I mean, you can, and I won't be mad at it. But I think for player management, you show that trust and confidence in him and say, cool, you're our striker. You're a DP, $10 million man. Go out and make that shit. And if you don't this time, you don't have to say this. I think it's probably known. If you miss it again, next man up,
Yeah.
But I think in this perspective, you chose BV9 as the guy. He misses one, so be it. Let him have another go. He'll make it next time, right? And that's the kind of confidence you need to have in your player as the manager. That's my perspective.
And hey, I mean, you are the manager in this situation, so you're a good guy, man. I appreciate that about you.
Yeah, step down, Davey.
Yeah,
BV9's taking this one, dog.
There you go. I'm over here trying to be your Josh Wolf. But yeah, well, let's go ahead and take a quick break before we come back and talk a little bit more about Houston Dynamo and Copa Tejas, and we'll be right back. Yo, Lobar, I was looking at your memento from the game last Saturday, and that picture was fire, dude. Why don't you talk to the people and tell them about their new favorite app?
For sure, man. Memento is your sports scrapbook for Austin FC. Your games, your stats, your scores, a memento for every moment. Every memento is yours to personalize. Add your photos from Q2, tag the homies, and relive your unique experience. Every memento is packed with stats, so watch as your sports history grows as you add a memento for each game. From Austin FC to NWSL and NCAA to the Premier League, NFL, and NBA. Track your fan experience from the palm of your hand.
Help the pod out by downloading Memento today. Follow the link in our description or on our socials to start tracking your mementos. Thanks. And we're back. Lobar, we have Austin FC heading down 290 this weekend to start our Copa Tejas Reclamation Tour and face our citrus-colored neighbors to the south on a 7:30 p.m. kickoff Saturday at Shell Stadium in downtown Houston, bro. The Dynamo are, as always, holding it down comfortably in 14th place in the West, and a lot of that probably has to do with the fact that Josh Wolf is now helping Ben Olsen as an assistant coach. Just kidding. Not really. That's for real. But Lobar, Austin are facing a team with a lot of roster movement this offseason / early season. Talk to us about how they're looking this year, man.
Yeah, well, they suck, so that's good. But from a roster perspective, they also kind of suck, which is cool.
Hell yeah.
No, I don't. I don't want to hate on the players. They have the misfortune of having to be in Houston, playing in that swamp. So it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Over the offseason, they got rid of 15 people, which is more than half of an MLS roster,
Damn.
and brought in 12, which is about half an MLS roster. So they made some swaps. I'm not
Right.
going to go through all of them because I could say names and nobody knows what those are. But a few names that I liked, or that I just noticed going in and out. Some obvious ones on the out. Our sweet hometown hero, Mackenzie Gaines, is no longer a Houston Dynamo.
Good for
Two
him.
big high-profile moves, obviously. Ache, not in Houston anymore. And then Coco Carrasquilla as well they made a bag off him. Well, I don't know how much they made, but it felt like a bag in hindsight. They made some money off him. But those are the big names that went out. A bunch of other rotation dudes also left. But guys coming in that I thought are doing okay, but will likely, end up having a pretty good season, if not a couple seasons for Houston. Nico Ladero, Jonathan Bond, Jack McGlynn, right? MLS, longtime MLS dudes who have a good track record in this league, who have contributed to winning and done things. I mean, Jack McGlynn, not that, but Ladero and Bond, yes.
Right.
McGlynn, young talent coming out of Philly. He's supposed to be a good asset, a long-term player for them, and he will likely turn out to be that. But they just made a lot of changes, man. And when you bring in a guy like Josh Wolf to manage a bunch of change, historically it doesn't go that well. So,
Right.
it's a tough fall from grace from fifth place Ben Olsen a team that Ben Olsen led to fifth place last year. But that's what happens when you swap half your team and bring in a lot of new parts, right?
Yeah.
They need time to gel, and I'm sure Houston will end up doing better than they are right now. But for now, we're happy to see them down at the bottom.
Yeah. And I think one name that I just remembered because I was watching the tail end of their match last week against Colorado was, I think, their new DP, Andres Linger,
Yes.
excuse me.
Yep, correct.
And so he looks to be a replacement for Sebastian Ferreira in that striker core, but curious to see if he's going to get any playing time this coming weekend. But yeah, anyway, on our side of things, though, thinking about our availability report, it's looking like Diego Rubio and Ilie Sanchez are off the injury list, and it looks like Dessler's still questionable, if I'm not mistaken, so I'm not too sure on that. We'll probably need a fact check. But also, can't forget that Brendan Hines-Ike did get that quick double yellow / red card toward the end of the Galaxy match last week. So more than likely, safe to assume Julio and Svatak are probably going to end up being the starting CB pair. Who else do you have starting against Houston?
Yeah, I think we see pretty much the same lineup we saw last week against LA Galaxy. I'd like to see Obrian on the bench and Bukhari start. Just bring back the DPs up top. I do like the 4-3-3. I think it gives a lot of space for like Uzuni and Bukhari to run and gives Vasquez space to operate and get some shots off.
Yep.
I'm not going to act like I know how Houston's been playing this year because I couldn't care less about them.
Well, they suck. So
yeah, it's like I don't know if they want to hold the ball, if they want to counter, what their strategy will be at home.
right.
But I would like to see us run with some speed and keep them on their back foot. These types of derbies are always like a toss up, no matter the form. I know it's not always been the case with Houston. We do better against them than we do against most other teams. But I'm always going to be wary of that, right? It's going to be a good matchup. Houston wants to win this game. They take it serious. The players take it seriously, I would assume, as the in-state rival. Same with Dallas. But if Dallas could get the better of them early this year, I'm sure we can do the same as they continue to be bad in Houston. So all I have to say is I want to see a lot of the same we saw last week, 4-3-3. Give me a strong midfield that can hold down some of the defense and get the ball upfield quick to our quick attackers. And I want to see some shots on goal. So, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of the same as last week, except Bukhari's back in. I think you're spot on with the Cascante Svatak pairing, and I'm okay with it. And we move.
Heard. Yeah, I mean, is it a good time now to maybe get into some predictions, or you need a second to think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm down. I think it's. Do you want me to start it off, or do you want you to?
No, go ahead, man.
Okay, cool. Well, I said off top of the episode that this weekend would be our fifth 1-0 win, and I'm not going to be mad if that's the case. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that is the case.
Yeah.
I think the defense can handle this team fairly easily if they lock in. The wild card obviously is Linger, the new DP, who's only played one game for them, right? It was just last week.
Like 20 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, came off the bench, got the game, the equalizer, the game winner, whatever it was. Is that right? Or am I mistaken?
It was the equalizer, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
They were down 2-1 and then equalized.
Right. So, that could be good for their form, but I'm not honestly too worried about it at this point. So, they're a team that can score goals. I mean, most teams in this league we're the exception so far. So, I think the defense can still handle it, get the clean sheet on the road, and get Vasquez another goal. So 1-0 is what I'm saying. Austin.
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, I think that's going to be our just default prediction from here on out on the show is 1-0, man. Because I mean, well, wasn't that the last result last year away at Houston was 1-0? CJ to Emmy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think Stuber got a hockey assist for that.
Something like that. Yeah. So I don't know. Something tells us obviously it'll be a little bit more dominant than what that was. That felt a very hectic back and forth there. But I will say, just as a random aside, I'm pretty sure that match, the reason we won was because I was not watching. I was at a music show watching Dirty Loops performing in Houston while y'all were doing the hard work watching Austin FC on the road.
Yep.
And it's going to be the same thing this week, where I'm actually going to be at Q2 for the Rufus Du Sol show.
Yep.
While folks are busy doing the hard work of watching Austin FC on the road. So, I think for me, like you, 1-0 to the good. And for, away fans that are traveling this weekend, do comport yourselves because I feel like this weekend I was giving a stark reminder of the MLS code of conduct and, big finger wagging because they wouldn't let me do it, bro. They wouldn't. Yeah. They got mad at me, man.
Well, tell them what happened. Or do you want me to? Are you embarrassed?
Nah, bro. I mean, if you want to, I don't know.
Yeah, we were vibing in the support section like we do, 101, just acting a fool. LA Galaxy's taking a corner, and who takes LA Galaxy's corner? It's Diego Fagundez, right? So Diego's walking over with the ball, and we were a few of many who were screaming and shouting at Diego.
Right. Pause. Listener, if you've ever been to an Austin FC match at Q2 Stadium and you've been in the supporter section, have you ever just randomly thrown up, a bird?
Yeah.
You probably have. Okay, continue.
Yeah. So my boy out here, and not just you, Lojo too. They were affectionately throwing out some birds and, talking a little shit to Diego on the corners and every player too. It wasn't just Diego, but this was the scenario that ended up in you getting a little slap on the wrist. And keep in mind, again, to your point, Paul, you were just two of hundreds that were doing this, but we happened to be in the second row right there in front of the player. And security got a little grumpy and gave Paul a little talking to and said, this is your warning. And you asked, how many do I get? And he said, just one. And you were like, word. Which I think is a fair question. Like, is it 3 strikes you're out? Or like, what's going on?
Type deal, right?
Yeah. How many do I get?
Yeah.
And then they came back retroactively like 30 minutes later in the second half to give Lojo his warning because they, I guess, watched the footage and made sure that they knew that, or he knew that he also got in trouble. I was out here just pointing and going and talking a little shit with my index finger, not as big. Anyway, but hey, for anybody in the support section, if you want to go a little rowdy, 2 fingers, not 1. That's the guy.
Yeah. Give him the British,
Yeah.
Peace sign.
Nobody knows what that means, and it's not the exact same thing. 2, not 1. That's I am not saying that sarcastically. Like truly, that's what Security said. Like 2, not 1, and we don't have a problem. And I was like, word.
Yeah.
So anyway, act a little unruly, bro. Fuck it. What's Houston gonna do?
Right, bro.
You'll be the only fans there. They'll be glad that you're in seats. They're not gonna kick you out.
I feel bad. I jokingly feel bad. I don't actually feel bad about this, but it's like the team is finally not staying at the bottom of the basement in the West, and they still can't fill up that stadium, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, but since it is an away game, as always, LV is doing the community a favor and hosting a nice big watch party. And this weekend, it's going to be at Brutorium. Brewery and Kitchen. We were just there after a little climbing sesh. It was pretty cool. We were planning this podcast episode, actually. It was really nice. Got ourselves a little beer, non-alcoholic, and yeah, it's great. It's great. But so the party kicks off at 6:30. Should have used different terminology there because the game actually kicks off at 7:30, but the party starts at 6:30. Yeah. They're saying that it's National Pretzel Day, so definitely check their pretzels out. They're pretty good. They've also got green queso and chips and Bat City Blonde Ale on hand, so going to be a good time. Check it out. I will be busy getting completely, Rufus Du sold out, so I'll try not to flex that much, but I'm just really excited because... Fun fact, dude, I was supposed to see them in Houston literally before the world shut down. They had to cancel that show.
Yeah, so that was 5 years ago, dude.
Yeah, dude. Anyway, all that to say, talking a little bit about Copa Tejas, though, for fans that don't know or, still joining us pretty fresh here, supporter groups from each MLS, NWSL, USL Championship, and USL Super League team, they all come together each year to organize an annual cup tournament between the Texas teams, which is affectionately known as Copa Tejas, with teams from each division playing for their own kind of respective cup. So like the MLS teams play for the MLS version of the cup and USL teams, so on and so forth. And that those winners are determined by the regular season results from matches played between the teams in the same division. And so, for example, Houston lost to Dallas, LOL, in the season opener. So that means that Dallas is leading the standings right now with 3 points. Houston has 0. We will beat Houston this weekend and presumably have 3 and be tied with Dallas.
Yep.
Lobar, Houston hasn't won a Copa Tejas yet since the competition's inception in 2021, G. But they have won the Copa Tejas Shield last season, which determines the quote-unquote best Texas club, regardless of gender, because we've got some women's clubs in Texas now, right? Dallas Trinity and Houston Dash. But we're taking that from this. We're taking that from them this year, right?
I mean, as it stands now, they're bottom of the table.
Yeah.
And I feel fairly confident saying that pretty much every club in Texas is ahead of Dallas. I'm sorry, ahead of Houston, MLS, NWSL, USL, etc. I think we all have more points than Houston does. So I could be wrong, but I don't care. I like the vibe of it. So I'm going to say they're at the bottom, all the way at the bottom. And we are currently all the way at the top. Right. So I think
love it.
We're in a good place to take it, right? Our biggest challenger in terms of points per game is San Antonio FC. They're standing at 12 points through 6 games. So they're in a decent spot. So we'll see how they end up in the season. But if we keep our current form, we should be able to take the Shield as well as Copa Tejas MLS edition. So I feel good about it.
Yeah, man. And I think you mentioned this last week, but or the week before, but we've never had a defense like this good, before. And so I think that going into all of these different Copa Tejas matches makes me feel really much more confident. And then
I agree.
Because it's going to be a good time. But
quick note of that too. We've never had an offense this bad.
So damn.
Woo! Here we are.
Wind out of my sails, G. We'll be all right though. We'll be all right. Defense wins championships or something like that. So
yeah, exactly.
Anyway, now that I'm staring into the void, let's switch over to stoppage time.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. So we're going to start off with Austin FC and the Open Cup, which their action begins May 7th against USL side El Paso Locomotive. Thoughts on this, brother?
Yeah, this is affectionately known as the Copa Open Cup, or what Copa Tejas Open Cup, because this is a matchup between two Copa Tejas clubs.
Right.
Have we met in preseason before? I have a faint memory of that happening.
If it's not a preseason friendly, it's been one of those like Leagues Cup, time fillers.
Okay. I have a memory of that. Regardless, it's going to be
Yeah.
our first competitive matchup with El Paso.
Mhm.
And I think at that point we'll have played, I may be wrong here, we'll have played every Texas-based team across MLS and USL after this. We've played San
Yeah, we
Antonio.
never got a chance to do the RGV Toros, but yeah,
Oh,
all
true,
the
true.
present
That's right.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the active ones. So we'll have played
Yes.
all of the Texas teams at this point. And so hopefully, we don't see a San Antonio FC situation. We take care of business.
Bro,
But
can
either
you
way,
imagine?
it'll have that like Texas fire to it, because it's a in-state
Yeah.
matchup. So I think it's going to be fun. I'm excited for it. Excited.
Oh yeah. And looking over to Austin FC Comms, which shared earlier this week that Austin leads the league. Well, they're tied for leading the league with 5 clean sheets on the season so far. Right now, it's Austin, Vancouver, St. Louis, and Minnesota.
Yeah.
That have 5 clean sheets. So we're sleeping good, man.
We're in good company. If last I checked, Vancouver is sitting at first in the West, and Mini is just behind us at third. Technically, we're tied. We just have more wins, and that's how the U.S. does it. So we have them on more wins. St. Louis is the one outlier at 12th, but their offense has been so anemic that their good defense hasn't helped them. So
Yeah.
they're this outlier there. But we're in good company for the most part. Like, good defensive teams usually finish pretty good at the end of the season. So I feel good about it.
Hell yeah. Well, and then moving over to our next point, we literally talked about this last week with Chicago Fire, but this time it's Columbus Crew with 60,614 fans, setting a new home attendance record for the Crew's history, where they played Miami at Huntington Bank Field, home of the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 2 years later, 3 years later. I can't remember when Messi came here, but shit's still
2 years later. Yeah, that's right.
massive.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Or almost 2 years. Yeah, I mean, it's just going to keep being that way, right? Especially as clubs try to accommodate the frenzy and post up at NFL stadiums. It is what it is. I do find it so laughable that all the fans, I'm sure they did something for season ticket holders to get access, but like, you would have to leave your city and drive 2 hours away to go see Messi play, just for the sake of a money grab.
Dude.
It's pretty whack. And I've had this thought before around like college football stadiums, right? With like, could Austin FC host a game at DKR, right? 100K if Messi comes in town. I just don't think that is really doable between colleges, like state institutions especially. And so like, Ohio State's in Columbus, it could have been them, or could have been that stadium. But it's funny that people had to drive far away to another city that has an MLS team.
Right.
Or Cleveland, I'm sorry, is in Cleveland. They don't have a team, regardless.
Yeah.
A different city that has no soccer team,
Yep. And your team loses, bro. Oh.
Yeah, and then you lose. Tough.
That's tough. It is what it is, bro. But, that's the East. They do funny stuff over there. Yeah. Moving over to our next point, we've got CONCACAF Champions Cup action picking back up this week as Cruz Azul and Tigres are squaring off to determine the Liga MX representative in the CONCACAF Champions Cup final. On the other side of the bracket, we have Inter Miami and Vancouver duking it out to see who's going to rep MLS. Bro.
Yep. It's exactly what it's a Leagues Cup dream right here.
Yeah.
Is to have an MLS side versus a Liga MX side in the final.
Yeah.
So, this is what, in my opinion, in CONCACAF, this is what it should be year after year. It should be an MLS versus Liga MX club in the final. Like, in terms of pedigree, if you want to say we're two of the better leagues in the world, or especially in the hemisphere, like, it needs to be a Liga MX club and MLS club fighting it out in the final every year. So this is what the people want. It'll be us one day, Austin FC fans taking on, I don't know, Monterrey or something. Let's say that. So, yeah.
Well, we got to get past Violette first, bro. But
True. That's a good point. That's a fair point. Point. Stop it.
Yeah. A lot of callbacks to some traumatic moments in our history. Let's not do that. Looking over at the NWSL, though, we have the KC Current taking care of business against the Dash. I'm a cry. To continue their win streak with 9 wins. We have the Washington Spirit snapping Orlando's 22-game home unbeaten streak on a 1-0 result. Dude, that sucks for Orlando.
It's tough.
And your San Diego Wave put 4 past Racing Louisville to notch their second win of the season. So you're probably feeling really good about that, bro.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just what we come to expect at this point out in San Diego, bro. Like, we just expect excellent. You know, this is what it was meant to be.
Bro,
But,
you're wild.
so, no, shout out Casey Current for staying undefeated.
Yeah.
You know, Orlando Pride, tough, but you're still one of the best teams in the league. So, like, it is what it is.
Right.
And the Dash just doing what Houston does and holds it down. So, you know, again, like, it just
Not the Dash,
San Diego
bro.
moves different, bro. And like, I know the Dash thought that this was the Dash's year, but it just, you know,
I never think that, bro.
just wave goodbye, brother, because I'll be out. We out here.
Yeah. That's valid, bro. That's valid. Yeah. Got me thinking like Maria Sanchez out here, bro. I want out.
Yes, sir.
But
Come join the fold,
it
dude.
is,
It's fun.
It is what it is. Looking over into some other kind of women's footy related stuff. Earlier today, the day of recording on Tuesday, we had the soccer tournament draw happening on ESPN, and those results are in. And our very own local Austin Rise has been grouped in the women's A group. And it looks like they're sharing a group with Angel City Sevens, Process FC, and the 2024 women's TST winners, the U.S. women.
Tough, bro. And correct me, it's the U.S. women all national team people.
It's like a lot of the former national team, players and stuff like that. They've got, oh gosh, can't pull it up right now, but
Don't worry about it.
they have a backup keeper, Lindsay Harris, who used to play at Houston, who's going to be joining them up. She's cool though. She's a good follow on Instagram if you haven't checked it out. She's
That's
swagging.
Fun. That's fun.
But yeah.
I will say though, for Austin Rise, this is exactly what they wanted out of this, in my opinion. As much exposure as possible, being put in the group with the last year's winner, being put in a group with Angel City team, right, with the NWSL team. Like, this is exactly what they should have been hoping for, and I'm glad they got it, because they'll get great exposure. It'll be a great story to have the U.S. women play against Austin Rise, the only women's club in Austin, and it's just going to be it's going to be a fun story. So I'm very happy for them out in Austin Rise, and I'll be watching. So
Yeah, man. That's exciting. Looking over to Serie A, we've got some top of the table drama developing, as right now Inter and Napoli are currently tied on points, I believe at 71 with 5 games left to go. But this was a cool reminder for me on socials when I saw that Serie A has a rule that was changed back in 2021, 2022, where if the top 2 teams are tied on points, they essentially hold off like a little one-off final match.
yeah,
And so if they're tied up through that, they can get into that. So
I like
wild.
that, man. I like that, and I hope more leagues do that. I don't know if they do, so I'm hopeful that that's becoming a trend, because having, like, I get that a tie at the top of the table could be broken on merit, right? Whether it's goals for or wins or whatever,
Right.
Season long metric would prove like we were the better team, goal differential, whatever it may be. But I like this idea of like, great, it stops at points. If you're tied on points, we're playing for it, baby. Like, winner take all. Let's not mess around with this, stat BS, especially in a real soccer league that doesn't have the playoff, right? Like, it's just the season is the playoff.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, if it's tied, let's play off for it. Let's play for the win. And so I like that. I hope other leagues do that. And that's a fun potential outcome. So
yeah, my heart just grew like 3 sizes, because I'm hearing you, a young budding soccer fanatic and a true MLSer, honestly, just spoke right now, because all I'm hearing is, you want Serie A to be MLS so bad, dude. It's great.
No, not at all, dude. I mean,
No.
That's
With the playoff kind of vibe, but yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you.
the one game playoff. I like that idea, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's more fun. It's more viewership. It's more excitement.
Yeah.
It's sure.
And honestly, if I'm not mistaken, at least Inter, if I'm not mistaken, is in the Club World Cup. So it's like, if they can get one more game in, to kind of pound their bodies and get tired, by all means,
Good
dude.
for Chelsea.
Good for us. Speaking of Chelsea,
Yep.
Our final point, as always, we've got the men coming back late in Fulham. Bro, I told you this last week. There's only one team in Fulham, G.
It's true. And it's Chelsea, which
It
makes
is
no
it
sense.
is Chelsea, bro. Unfortunately for the women's, though, they had to suffer the worst loss under Sonia Bonpastor this year.
Yep.
Facing Barcelona 4-1, dude, away at, as I like to call them, Barcelona.
Yeah, for real.
Tough, bro.
For real. Yeah, that was tough. I think what was it that Lojo said? Like, he blames you because you just didn't believe enough, bro. You didn't believe enough
In the men, bro.
I know that's what I'm saying.
I woke up and I was like, why are the men down right now,
Yeah,
bro?
you didn't believe enough in the men, and then they came back and won it. And because of that, you have to love them equally, the men and the women's team.
Yeah.
And you didn't. And
I threw off the vibe.
And the vibes were thrown off. No, it's tough, and it's a tough deficit to come back from in the second leg. But we'll be at home this
at the
weekend.
bridge.
Yeah, this weekend at the bridge. A little back-to-back game there for us. So, you know what? Just go out there and play some fun soccer. Score some goals. Don't worry about the score at this point. Just go out and score, dude.
Yeah.
Like, just get the vibes going, because at worst case scenario, you carry that momentum into the league and close it out. So, but shout out to the men though, dude. Neto hitting the game winner and then spamming celebrations like a FIFA character. That made me chuckle, bro. He hit.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
I think I counted like 9 different celebrations.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Yeah. No, that was a crazy final like 15 minutes of the match, dude. Tyreek George, you know.
Yeah, shout out the kid. Was that his first league goal?
That was his first league goal, bro.
Oh yeah, dude.
On the way, bro. On the way. Well, all that to say is, Chelsea still in the hunt for UCL spot, and the women are going to be fighting like hell for that second leg of the Champions League semifinal. But come on, you Blues. But that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for us, though. We appreciate y'all kicking it with us on this week's episode of the Verdependent podcast. I'm Paul Fletes. You can catch me on socials at PaulAndrewFC. Government name.
And I'm Logan Bartlett. You can find me at LobarVHLM.
And as always, keep the chatter going online by following at the Verdependent on socials. Again, just a friendly reminder before we leave, if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the Verdependent podcast and leaving a review wherever you listen to us, and to share these episodes with your Verde friends. That is an episode, y'all. Peace.
Bye-bye. Oh, why are you screaming at me?
Oh my God.